Hello. How you guys doing? Doing all right. I'm gonna go kind of simple today. I just kind of want to relax and not go too deep into things. So I'm gonna do another pair of earrings today. Really beautiful style of earring. It's just gonna be your typical beaded dangle earring, native style like this, but it's going to be a double. And when I mean double, I mean the brick stitch on it is doubled like that. So instead of it going just like that, we're going to add a whole nother triangle down there underneath the bugle bead border. This isn't the one we're going to do. I'm going to do a different style. So they're really beautiful. I absolutely love these earrings, but I'm going to go with different colors and kind of a different pattern on it. So that's what we're going to do today. It looks complicated. It's not that bad. It's not complicated at all. If you can do these regular styled ones, you can do those. It's a breeze. Not a lot to share today. Not a lot going on. Kind of having a lazy day. I have today off and I got all my work done the prior 2 days, so I could actually just hang out in my room and just relax and bead. So that's what I'm going to do. So I might do another video today. Haven't made up my mind 100% on that. I was debating on doing maybe a daisy chain or something along those lines. Don't hold me to that. I'm not planning today out. We're just going to go with the flow. So, as far as our earrings that we're going to make go, they are really easy. They might take a little bit. They have a lot of fringe and they're a little larger. So if you like large earrings, it's the place to be. So what we're going to need today for our supplies is we're going to need obviously a size 11 needle. You got one of those around. And we're going to need some size 0 nymo thread. And we're going to need a little, I'm getting so low on that, OMG, hopefully mine comes soon. Getting really low on my thread. It's getting there. We'll see what happens. As far as beads go, we're going to need a size 2, I believe, yeah, size 2 light blue bugle bead. So we get there. And then we're going to need 3 different kinds of size 11s of the seed beads. And I am going to go with a opaque royal blue, just your standard white opaque blue, can't talk. White opaque size 11 seed bead. And then we're also going to need a opaque, and this is a turquoise blue. I like to call it light blue because it looks like light blue, but I guess it's a turquoise blue. I like it. So they're going to be blue. You can pick whatever colors you want. You know, basically all you're going to need is a bugle bead with kind of a corresponding bead that looks just, same color, and then 2 different colors. And that's all you're going to need for beads. You're going to need some beeswax to protect that thread, especially with those bugles going through it, and some earring findings. And that's all we're going to need for this project here. And obviously some kind of scissors or snippers, and also maybe a pair of these needle nose pliers or jewelry pliers to put your findings on with. And that will be all we need for supplies. I'm going to bring you guys down and we will get her going. Bring it down here. I'm going to open my window real quick and get some light coming in. Alright, I'm going to lay out my beads here. Oh, I forgot. I got to open these bugles because I haven't opened these yet. I haven't used the blue ones. Funny because blue is like my favorite colors, so I'm excited to use these. These will look really nice. These are cool earrings. I've always wanted to do the double brick stitch, and I never have. So this will be fun. This will be quite entertaining here. Oh, those are pretty. Pretty, pretty. And we'll use this dark blue here. Royal blue is what they call it. Royal blue size 11s. Light blue, or also known as turquoise blue, size 11s. And opaque white. There we go. And we'll get threaded up here. We're going to need a lot of thread for this. It takes a lot of thread, and there's no sense in going crazy with it because you're going to have to tie off and retie no matter what. And we'll go through that step obviously anyway. So for the first part, what we're doing is we're going to do the baseline with the bugles and then the top triangle part and the little hoop to put your findings on. So for the size or length of your thread that you're going to want, or you're going to need, I should say, I would go, let me find my start here. This one really, there it is. This one really hides from me on here. I would go probably from your hand holding the spool over to the opposite shoulder. And that's what I would do, because we're gonna tie that off anyway, and we're gonna have to start anew, because otherwise you have such a long thread, it gets in the way, it tangles up in things. I'm gonna take my ring off because my ring kind of gets tangled when I do this, and it gets knotted easily, and it's just, you end up, it's more fuss than worth it really in the long run. I'm just kind of giving a tug to kind of straighten out my thread, get the little loopies off from being on the spool. And then I'm going to wax her up, and I wax it up pretty good with earrings, especially with the bugle beads, because they will cut your thread bad. Yesterday when I was doing the one I showed you, the red one there, I had to restart that earring 3 times because it cut those bugle beads, and I was barely putting any pressure on those, and it cut my bugle beads just like nothing. So coat her up nice, and any kind of residue that you have, that will wear away in time and as you work on it, so you don't have to worry about any residue being left on anything. Now we'll get threaded up here. There we go. Alrighty. And that is that. Now we're ready to get going here. Now our baseline on this is 10 bugle beads. So we want to start by picking up 2. I always like to kind of look them over, make sure they don't look too jagged or sharp, or if any pieces have cracked off. We'll put on 2 bugle beads there, like so. And then just bring them on down your thread. Whoops, I almost brought it too far. And you want to leave a little, about 6-inch tail to tie off. So we can tie that off. Then you want to bring your needle up through that first bugle bead and gently pull them together. See, that brings them together nice. And then we'll bring our needle back down through that second bugle bead, and that'll reinforce that nicely. And kind of give it a gentle tug, nothing too crazy. We don't want to have our thread get cut. And we'll pick up another bugle bead, thread it through, come up through that second bugle bead on the top. And when I say the top, I mean above. Okay, so where you can see your tail here. So where your tail is here, that's going to be the bottom, what I consider the bottom. And so this is going to be the top, where there isn't a tail. So bring your needle back through the top of that second bugle bead, just like so. And pull. And then come back up through the bugle bead you just put on. And now your thread's going to be coming up out of the top of that. Now kind of keep an eye on your bugle beads here and make sure they're lined up straight and they're not all offset or crooked looking. You want them to look as straight as possible. And we'll pick up another one. Bring it on down. And then we want to come, see, this is our bottom with where the tail is. And so we want to come up from the bottom through that last bugle bead there that we put in. Get caught on my dry skin. My goodness, my fingers, around my fingers is so dry. I like to give it just a gentle tug. And then come back down through the top of the bugle bead you just put on. And to give it a gentle tug. Make sure it's all lined up pretty. Pardon me. And we're going to do that again. And you want to kind of cull your beads too. These are pretty beads, so they look really nice. But some beads, some are longer than others, shorter than other. And if you feel that's the case, like you kind of have I don't know, these aren't fancy beads, but they're not cheap beads. But say you got a thing of cheap ones you want to use up, or that's all you have, who cares? You got beads, that's all that matters. You can always line them up before you do your base, kind of like that. And I take a ruler and I just kind of go like that and kind of look them over and make sure they're all uniform. And that's a nice way to do it. And then you can set those beads aside and you can use those. So that's another nice way of doing it if you don't feel confident in your beads. And we're going to string another one here. Bring it on down through. Come down through the top of that closest bugle bead. Pull through. Come up from the bottom of the bead you laid. And pull through. Like I said, you want to reinforce it. Now when you pull on thread with bugle beads, it helps you pull directly up or directly down. Don't pull on the sides or towards you or anything like that, because that brings that thread to the edge of that bead and it cuts it. It'll just, I mean, not all the bugle beads do that, but some of them, they're sharp and they will just cut those. So I like to kind of pull directly up so that the thread's kind of hovering in that hole there instead of being rubbed up against the side of those bugle beads. It's just a nice way to be able to kind of get a little more secure on there and not run the risk so high of cutting your thread. I swear I started that one. We're going to add another one here. I started that one yesterday 3 times because it just kept cutting it, and I get you know, over halfway through my baseline and I'd be like, are you serious? And it was just so frustrating, but I kept with it. You know, when that happens, I'll just take it apart and keep my beads and start over with my thread. So if I can grab my needle today, goodness. Okay, strung another one. Come back. Oh, I had that flipped over. Come from the bottom up on that nearest seed or bugle bead there. Pull, and then come down from the top through the bead you just put on. Like so. And I know my thumb is in the way, but you gotta hold on to your work when you do these kind of earrings. It is a must. What are we at here? We got 1, I can't see that, it's too reflective. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh man, it looks a little small. Yeah, he's a little tiny. We'll get a different one. Here we go. And we'll add another bugle bead here. And we will come down from the top of that nearest bead, bring it through and pull through, and then come up from the bottom of the bead we just put on, and give it a tiny little tug. And now put another bugle bead on here, and then we'll come up from the bottom of the last bead we just put on. If I can find the hole, here we go. Pull through, and then come back down from through the top of the bead we just put on. Whoops. And get a tangle. Seriously though, I think I've had too much going on in my week. Beading is a frame of mind. It's not just about the beading process. It is a frame of mind. It's about how you look and think about things and your emotional state while you do it. And I've kind of had a week, so go. What is going on here? That's not tight. I don't like that. I'm gonna pull that up and tighten that a little better. There we go. Add another bead. Bring it through. Come down from the top of the previous bead, and then up from the bottom through the top of the bead we just put on. I cannot see those, they're so reflective. 1, 2. Okay, this is our last one here, so one more bugle bead. Bring it on there. From the bottom through the top of our previous bead. And then from the top through the bottom of the bead we just put on, like so. And that's what we're going to have. Now, we have to reinforce that, so we have to go through every single bead we just slayed. And we want to make it back over to our tail here. So we're already coming out of this, our thread's coming out of this last one here on the bottom. So we're going to go from the bottom through the top, and then back down through the next, and just work our way through every bead with our thread to reinforce our work. That'll add a nice little extra bit of strength to everything, and it'll kind of tighten up our base too. Like so. Down through that one. And then we're at the end here where the two threads are both coming out next to each other. So what we're going to want to do is make sure you hold that tail to the side and bring your thread up through the same bead that tail's sticking out of, from the bottom up to the top. Just make sure that tail's out of your way, you don't get wrapped up in the tail. And then you should have something that looks like that. Your tail's down here, and then you're coming up out of the top over here. Alright, now we're ready to start adding our brick stitch. Luckily we didn't have any threads going anywhere or getting cut along the way. Alright, now we're going to start in on the brick stitch part of the earrings. Roll my sleeves up for this. Alright, so I want to pick up a blue, royal blue seed bead, and then on the bridges here, you'll see your little thread bridges going down through there. You're going to want to go underneath that first bridge closest to your thread. Make sure you're underneath the bridge and you're not in between lower down here or something. You want to be snug. You want to have that needle rubbing up against that thread basically. And then pull it through like so. And then come back up through that bead just like that and pull it through. And there's our first bead. Okay, and then next you're going to want to pick up a white bead, and then you're going to go into the underneath that bridge in the second row, right next to that blue one. Pull it through, and then come back up and pull it through. Try not to get your tail in there. And they'll lay nice and flat on their own. They'll just lay right down for you. And then we're going to want to pick up a light blue. Pardon me. And then we want to put it underneath that next bridge. The bridge next to the white one there. Just like so. Stick it through, pull your thread through, and then come back up through that light blue bead, just like so. There we go. And then we're going to want to pick up a white bead and come through the joining bridge. Pull your thread through and bring your thread up through the white one, like so. And then we're going to want to pick up a dark blue bead. Stick it under the bridge. And pull it through. And you still want to be kind of gentle while you do this first row, because it still can, those beads can still cut that thread. Just like so. And then we want to pick up a white bead. And we're going to want to go underneath the bridge. I can find it here. There it is. Bring it through. Up underneath. Like that. Whoop, got my tail in there. And pull through. Then we want to do a light blue bead. under the bridge, and bring the needle through the bead and pull it through. And then we're going to have another white on there. That. Bring it up through. And then we want a dark blue. That was kind of a close call with mine. Mine didn't line up too well. Actually, did I skip one? Hang on. I think that's right. And then come back up through your last bead there. There we go. And there's our first row. Looks lovely. And I'm going to flip my work around because I have an easier time with it that way. You don't have to do that. If you do, make sure you're reading your pattern from left to right and then right to left and left to right and right to left. If you don't flip your pattern, then you continue to read from left to right, left to right, left to right, left to right. But I flip mine, and you know, most of these are geometrically sound, so it doesn't really matter. But if you are doing a different picture or pattern, then you might want to be careful with that and make sure that you're following it the proper direction. And it might get a little curved or whatever, but that's just natural. It'll even itself out as we go along. Okay, so for row number 2, whoops, take my whole bead pad with me here. What we want to do, I flipped mine, so I'm going to start the same direction I was going basically, but reading it backwards. So what we want to do is we want to pick up another dark blue bead and stick it up under the bridge. I'm going to go through another row with you like this so you understand this is our brick stitch. And after that, I'm just going to kind of sew and show you the pattern and bring it through. There we go. And then we want to do a white. Bring it through. And then we want to do a light blue up under the bridge, like so. Pull through and bring your needle up through the bead. And that lays that down nice, really nice. And then we want to do a white. Under the bridge and maybe through the bead. So, and then where am I at in my pattern here? Blue, white, light blue, white, another white. Pick up another white bead, and this is going to be just your standard triangle pattern. Bring it through, like so, and a light blue, and then pick up a white, go underneath that bridge, pull it through. And then our last one's going to be a dark blue. Like so. Here's our second row. Looking pretty good. Okay, and I'm going to flip her over because that's what I do. And then we need, I'm to figure out what I need here. We're going to need a dark blue. Stick it under that bridge. And then a white. We need a light blue. Sorry, get a drink there. Okay, and we need a white. And a light blue. And you can make these any color that you want. You can even, draw your own patterns on the inside of them. However you want to do it. I'm just kind of showing you how to do the double beaded, I guess you'd call it, the double brick stitch ones today. I think they're absolutely beautiful. I kind of like the double ones, but I like them all. These are really pretty though. And over time I want to do some more and we can kind of go over different styles of fringe and things like that. A few little different variations with the fringe that you can do that are really pretty. Alright, there's our third row. It's like so. Beautiful. And working our way up the triangle here. So I flipped it over. I need another, need a dark blue for our first bead. Go. And then we're going to need a white. And I do believe you can find graph paper online. I did. I'm not going to say I do believe. I did find graph paper that you can do for the double or the triangles on top and the bottom to make your own patterns. So there is graph paper out there. You just kind of have to look around for it and see what you can find. I cannot remember I can't remember the site I found it on. I can't remember what it was. But you can download them and print them out, and then you can make your own patterns and designs, which is awesome. So there is a place, if you just search it, I know there is a place you can get graph paper for these. I don't know if you can hear that. That is my bird clock. I do not have a bird. I used to have a bird. I do not have a bird any longer, so that is my bird clock here chirping back there. It's every hour or so the different birdies will sing, and it doesn't keep time anymore, but I don't care because I really like the clock, so I just keep it anyway. I could replace it, I think, but I don't know. Maybe someday. Oops. I thought it was the batteries, and I replaced the batteries, and it still didn't keep time proper, so we have a blue, white, two light blues, a white, and a dark blue. There's our pattern kind of coming through there. Isn't that nice? So pretty. And I'm going to move my little sticky here. Know where I'm at. Need another blue, dark blue. Sorry to cough on your ear there. So a dark blue, and then a white. That's a little big. And you want to kind of color your beads as you go. And make sure they're all kind of the same size. Try and keep it as uniform as possible. There's the white. And then a light blue. I guess I could come a little closer to the camera there. Like so. And then a white. I just did the standard triangle pattern because I like the way it looks with these. It kind of turns into a little diamond. I really like the way the pattern looks, so I just stuck with your typical standard triangle pattern on it. And they're easy enough too. A white and then a dark blue. And there's our next row. And then we flip it over. We're going to want, excuse me, I want to do dark blue. And then white. Oops. And another white. And another dark blue. We're almost to the top here. Like so. And we'll flip it over. And we're going to do a dark blue. And then a white. And another dark blue. Those are kind of wimpy. There we go. Kind of skinny. Like so. And then we're going to do two dark blues. So, do one here. There we go. Kind of got a little tangled. And another dark blue. It'd be really nice having the day off today. Kind of a rough week. Just like so. And that is our top triangle there. So beautiful. I love the blue. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I have a red bugles. I think I might do a matching red set too. Okay, now we need to put on our little hoop for our findings. And I do 6 beads. So we're coming up out of that, this one here, this bead here, and that's fine. Just leave it the way it is. Leave it where it is. Pick up 6 beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I picked up one too many. It's always good to double check yourself. 3 and 3. All right. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to bring your needle back down through that neighboring bead there. So this, we're coming up out of this one here. We want to go through his little friend, his little neighbor. So bring your needle down through that. And sometimes it acts a little silly when you pull it down. And you're going to have your little hoop, and it's a little floppy and flimsy. So we're going to reinforce that by going through, this tail's in my way. Okay, we're going to reinforce that by going through that a few times. I usually do about 2 times. Make sure that's nice and strong, because we are going to have a lot of fringe, and it's going to be a heavy earring. So what you want to do is go back down. See how I'm going through that? See, I came out of this, coming out of this one here, right here, and just go through that one next to it and go back up through your little hoop beads, like that. And that just kind of reinforces everything and strengthens the hoop a little bit. And I'm going to do that 2 times. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to come back down through that blue bead neighbor there, the other one, and then come back through his little friend right next door. Just like so. And then back down again. And that reinforces that nice. There we go. And now, normally, I would go back down through all of this and come back down and just do my fringe, but I don't think we're going to have enough thread. So I'm going to just kind of weave in through things and just do a knot here and there, and basically like we'd be tying off. To kind of want to hide our thread the best we can. You know, you can pick which side you want people to see too when you put your findings on. So if one side has a little more thread coming through, you can put that towards the back. And now I'll put a couple knots on this one right here. Because you want to make them pretty durable, especially if you're going to wear them a lot, and they might get a little tug on them here and there because they're longer earrings and they get kind of in the way here and there, so you want to make sure it's nice and reinforced and tied off good and tight. I'm going to come down on this side and put another knot and then cut off. And we'll cut that in a second, and I can get that through there. There we go. And they're easy enough to tie off and knot. It's such a fine thread that those knots disappear pretty easy. Here's the last knot I'm going to tie here. And after I tie a knot, I don't just cut where the knot is. I will go through a couple more beads. And when you pull it, that kind of hides that knot. Like so. And I know I have quite a bit of thread here, but I don't want to get into all of my other stuff in my fringe and then not have enough thread. I would rather do this. So you could probably go an arm's length instead of an arm and a shoulder. That's about the distance that, yeah, I think a little bit, tiny little bit over an arm's length. Now we all have different length arms, so that depends on the individual. And I'm so silly. I have to keep my trash can off the floor because of my kittens. They will get into it because there's all sorts of interesting string and things for them to get a hold of. So I have to set it up high, like clear across the room. So instead of like actually having a trash can nearby, I got a little jar and I put my little strings and stuff in it, like it's a table trash can. So instead of having to get up out of my seat every time I want to throw something away, I just don't want him to get a hold of the string, because if a kitty swallows a string, that could be a real bad deal. Actually, one of my kitties, my favorite kitty ever in the world, he swallowed some string and that was his demise, and I will never make that mistake again. So, learned my lesson. Kind of wish I would have known then. Alright, so we're going to tie off our tail now. Let's get this thing out of the way. So what I do is I like to bring it through that neighboring seed bead that it's coming out, or bugle bead that it's coming out of. And just bring it through a couple beads, tie a double knot, and then just snip it off is how I do it, because it'll be nice to get him out of the way. He's been in my way. Get out of the way. You know, he's going to be a smaller thread, so. Oh. I know that's all I was going to do, but I want to pull the thread through a few beads. So I have to rethread here. Maybe. There we go. And I'm going to bring that up through a couple of these guys. There we go. And I like to set my beadwork flat and kind of give my thread a pull. Lay my scissors on its side there. Boom. And it makes a nice clean cut. So there's our first top half of our little triangle double brick stitch earrings. Now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to cut another thread. I just don't like, I mean, I like working with long thread to a level, but if you go too long, then it causes more trouble than help, and you end up getting into knots, and it tangles, and it gets in the way, and so you're better off, I find that with these, it's better off doing it this way, because the fringe does take a lot of thread, so you want to just make sure you got enough. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not, you know, tripping and tangling over your other thread. So, I am going to do a wingspan on this. And when I say wingspan, I mean from one hand to the other and then spread your arms apart. Spread your wings. And we give her a snip. I'm going to see how that's curly like that. With this nymo thread, if you just give it a little, kind of little bouncy tug, something gentle, that straightens that out right away. And you don't want it curly like that because it will tangle all over itself. And I want to wax her up good here. Get a nice beeswax going on. My beeswax is about, it's like I'm cutting it with thread basically. And it's about to fall apart on me. I like the darker colors beeswax. And when I went to the store, I couldn't find it. And then I was like looking around at various things. And then I found the kind I like over by the leather work. And so I was kind of bummed, but I'll have to buy some. I'm just kind of using this up. I don't like to buy things unless I absolutely have to. I guess that makes me cheap, but that's okay. Better to have than have not, and to conserve what you have, because in this throwaway society, it doesn't hurt to just use up what you got. So, thread that up there. There we go. Now how I connect my thread, I do it a little different. I don't know if everybody else does it this way, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my thread through, and you can pick any of these beads. I avoid the bugle beads. I go up to the top of this one, like so. Find one of the beads. I'm gonna try to get in on this one here. I'm just gonna go through a few of those, like so. And I'm going to leave just a little bit. I'm going to start tying knots, and like I would be doing if I was tying off, basically, just to secure it and make sure that it's going to stay, because we don't want this to fall apart on us. And just bring it through some beads, put a couple knots here and there. Like so. I'm going to come up to this white one here. Like that. And I know it seems like a lot of work, but it's better than running out. You don't want to run out of thread. Whoops, hit my lamp. Go. I'm going to work my way down. I'm going to put a double knot in, and then work my way down to the bugle bead. So you want to work your way down to the left side of your earring where the bugle bead is, because we're going to put this together like we would have started this. It's going to be like basically like flipping it upside down and doing bugle or a brick stitch there. So it's basically just like a reverse earring, like you're doing the other side. The exact same way that you would do this side is how we're doing that side. So, okay, we got our double knot there. So I'm going to bring it down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these two, and with the brick stitch it's best to go through a bead. Like if you're going through a bead like this, okay, and you want to go across, always go across to the neighbor bead, because it kind of goes in rows, and otherwise you're going to see that thread. I can't get that. There we go. So you're going to want to kind of go right to left, and if you go up and down with your thread, go in your rows, your catty corner rows. So I'm going over there. I look pretty good. I'm going to bring it through. So you want to bring it through that very end bugle bead and bring it through. Just like so. So now we're ready to start that, but now we have another tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle off here. Ouch. Poke myself with it. Thread it back up. And maybe oh my goodness, really? There it goes. Thread that up, and then we're just gonna tie a quick knot and make it disappear. So we went in there. See how we're coming out of that light blue bead there? You want to go over. Don't ever go like over to this bead or something, because you're going to see thread when you do that. So I'm bringing it up here. I'm going to tie a knot, and then we're going to tie it off. And that way we have thread reattached, and if you're ever making earrings like this, you know how to reattach thread if you need it, which is always good to know, because we do have our moments where we run out of thread. And that's that. Now I'm going to cut that off. Don't cut your other thread. Make sure you're only cutting that tail. Boom. All right. Now, we have a new thread attached. Got rid of that ugly tail. And rethread our needle here. Alrighty. And now we're ready to get our brick stitch going on the bottom half. And this is what makes these earrings cool, because most of them, they don't have this, and they're so neat when they look like this. They're so cool. So we'll get going on that. And it's really easy because it's going to be basically a reflection of that upper part. It's basically what it is. Alright, so if you decided to use a really long thread and you didn't tie off, you'd be coming out of one of these two beads, whichever, I don't know which side's what at this point. And what you would want to do is just bring your thread down and through one of the first bugle beads on either side. So you just come down and through either side. I like to end up back on my left side, so I know where I was. Now, we're going to start our brick stitch on this end. So what we want to do is we're going to want to pick up, and you can kind of, I mean, if it's the same pattern on both sides, you can go off this pattern on the top. So we'll pick up a blue bead, like we would normally for the other one. And we're going to want to go, you see our little bridges here, we're going to want to go in between. If I can get in between it here. Sorry, I can't say I bring closer. There we go. In between our first bridge, just like so. And just bring it through, just like we did on the other side. Like that. And back up through that bead. Back up through the bead. And give it a little soft little tug. And then we're going to want to pick up a white bead. And then we're going to want to go in between that bridge, the next bridge, and then pull it through, and then back up through that bead. You want to do this all the way through on the bottom, just like you did on the top. Pick up a light blue, stick it through that bridge, pull it through, and go through the bead. And then we're going to want to pick up a white. Gotta find the right size. Go under that bridge, pull through, stick your needle through that bead. Maybe, there we go. And pull through. Like so. And now we're going to want a dark blue. And see how you can kind of go off that, you can just go right off that top upper pattern. Now we're going to stick our bead through under that bridge, like so, and stick our needle through. There we go. And then we want to do another white bead. Go up underneath that bridge. I can't see here. There it is. Pull it through, up through the bead, like so. A light blue bead. I'm going to do this row with you, and then I'm going to finish this pattern, and when we get to the last two, I will come back and show you what to do from there, and then we can add our fringe and finish the earring off. White bead, under the bridge, stick it through, dark blue bead, under the bridge, and stick it through. And see, there we have our first row coming underneath. And we're going to do that like we did up here, only down here. And that's all it is. It's the exact same thing, just flip it upside down. And so I'm going to continue working on mine. And like I said, you can go off this pattern we have here, because that's all this is. It's just the same pattern, upside down. And just think of it like you were working it up at the top. It's the same thing as you did up here, down here. And you'll get down to these last two beads, and then I will meet back up with you, and then I'll show you what to do from there, okay? Alright, so now that I'm back, your earring should look like this, okay? Where you have the two triangles on both ends. And here at the bottom, you have probably, I'm assuming, two beads. What we need to do is we need to add a bead down there. So we need to pick up a blue bead, a dark blue bead. Where's a good one at? There we go. Go through that bridge like you would on the others. Go under that bridge, just like you would on your others. Pull it through, and then come up through the bead. And that's going to put that point on there, okay? So now you have a little point to your triangle there at the bottom, okay? And now what we want to do is we want to add our fringe, okay? So this is a little bit tricky because we're going to go every other bead to add our fringe. So what we want to do is we want to go put our fringe on this first. See, our thread's coming directly up under and out of this very last bead. That's perfect. We're just going to put a string of fringe right on him. Okay, he's all ready for fringe. Setting nice and even, looking good. So for the fringe, I'm going to do, it's a count of 5. So we're going to add 5 white beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to add 5 dark blue beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to add 5 more white beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so far, for our fringe, we have 5 white, 5 dark blue, and 5 white. Now this next row is a little bit different. For this one, we're going to add 1 dark blue. So 1 dark blue, try and find a decent looking bead here. 1 white, 1 light blue, 1 white, and then another dark blue bead. So we have a dark blue, a white, light blue, white, and a dark blue. Okay, so that's for that part. And then we want to add 5 more white beads. Okay, and we're going to do 5 light blue. Like so. And then we want to put on a bugle bead. One of our pretty blue bugles there. And then 3 dark blue. Now, that's our fringe for this guy here. Really pretty, isn't it? What we want to do is we want to, I hope you can see that, kind of bring it there as close as I can. You want to skip these 3 dark blue beads on the bottom, the very bottom ones. Ignore those. Act like they're not even there. And then you want to go through all the rest of the beads that you strung with your needle. So bring those through. You might not get it all in one shot. I don't think I'm going to, so pull that through and then grab these last 3 like so. And then we're going to pull those through on the thread. If I, drop my needle. Jeez Louise, getting all tangled up and stuff. There we go. And bring that on through. And when you get there, you want to make it tight. Don't make it too snug, but you want it tight enough to where you don't have a gap of thread, because you don't want this thread to show. It's in between these 2 beads. You want that to be nice and snug with the seed beads on the actual brick stitch. And then also, you want your bottom tail that's holding on the fringe to have, I can get it on there, to have that look to it, where it's almost like a little triangle. So you want to make sure that when you pulled on it, that's the shape that those 3 beads took. So now we're through those. I like where mine's at. You can also kind of hold on to these to kind of pull it tight and make it look nice. And what you want to do is you want to come back up through that bottom bead, that tip-top triangle on the bottom, the one that we put on there last. And come back up through there. And that'll pull that on there. And that's our first fringe right there. Our first fringe. Now, we have to go every other bead for our fringe. So in order to do that, we have to move our thread, because it's down here. We got to slowly work it up this side to make it work. So what you want to do, whoops, I dropped my needle, is I like, because we're not going to put fringe in this bead. We're going to put fringe in this bead. So you're not going to put it in the next one. You got to skip a bead and then put the fringe. Skip a bead, put the fringe. Skip a bead, put the fringe. Skip a bead, put the fringe. That way it all lines up nice. Sorry about that. So I don't go directly through that side because then it's not coming out the right way. And I'll explain that here in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up through the bead right next to it, okay? And bring my needle through that bead right next to that one we just came out of, okay? So I'm going to put my needle through there and pull through, just like so. Then I'm going to go over to this white bead here because that will make my thread disappear in between those beads. It's not going to be like showing so well. So we're going to put our needle through that white seed bead there on the tip top, just like so. Okay, so we've jumped up to this level, and now we can, because the beads are, because our thread's coming out here, okay, we can now come over and bring our needle through that seed bead there, because you don't want your needle coming up, because you want this thread to be hanging down in order to take the shape of the fringe. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to string your fringe. It's not going to line up right. It's not going to work. So you have to have that needle coming down through those beads instead of up. So instead of going up through the bead, you have to be coming down. And the reason I jumped over a bead was because when you jump over the bead in the brick stitch, if you jump over to the right or left, it hides that thread. Okay, if you don't do that, then your thread is really, it's kind of out in the open and you can really see it. And you want that thread to be not very visible. You want to kind of hide that thread a little bit. So now we're lined up. See how we're coming out of that? This is hard to hold here, but I'll try and show you. Now you see how we're coming out of that seed bead right there, that third one from the bottom? We did our first fringe on the bottom one here, and then we skipped this bead right here, and we jumped over to the third one. And we did that by going over through this second bead, and then jumping over through this white bead, and then jumping back over. It's almost like a little triangle shape, okay, or V shape. And you got to do that all the way up, because that way your thread's going to be hidden, and it's going to be, see how the thread's coming down out of that bead. It's not coming from the upper, it's coming down. And that's how you want your thread to be coming down, so you can attach your fringe. And the fringe is simple enough because the fringe is all the same. We don't change our count on any of them. It's 5, 5, 5, 5 of all of this pattern. So we need 5 white again. 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 dark blue. Like so. 5 white. And then we want a dark blue, a white, a light blue, a white, and a dark blue. And then 5 white, 5 light blue, and a bugle, and 3 dark blue, like so. There we go. Pull it on down, and then skip those bottom 3 beads and stick your needle through the ones that you've strung. And I have found that laying down the fringe is a really easy way to do it instead of holding it in your hand. It helps to just lay it down. And then pull our thread through, like so. And tighten it up a bit. Make sure looking good. Get this other guy out of the way. Make sure our little triangle at the bottoms look good and uniform. And there is our second fringe. Now, we want to come back up through the bead we came out of. Make sure it's that third from the bottom there. And like so. And you want to make sure it's tight enough to where your thread's not coming through. Now, we've done our second row. Now, we need to skip a bead. Make sure you can see me here. You need to skip a bead, and we need to be coming out of that bead. So I'm going to go up through the bead directly above the one we just came out of. I can get in there. Just like that. And come up through that. Pull through. And I'm going to jump over to the neighboring bead, which is this white bead, the neighboring bead up a row. So, because see, when you pull, you're going to pull that through, and that's going to hide that thread. So, come up a bead through that white bead there. Like that. And then we can bring our needle down. Maybe. I can't get there. Hang on. And bring our needle down through the next bead that we need to bring our fringe through. And pull that through, just like so. And now we can add our third row of fringe. Now, we want to do 5 white, the exact same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white, and then 5 dark blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 5 white again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then our little kind of jump back and forth part where it's dark blue, white, dark blue, white, oh, I'm sorry, dark blue, white, light blue, dark blue, white, light blue, white, and then a dark blue. You can see the pattern on the other ones, so it's all the same. So if you get kind of lost in your pattern, you can know that's what your pattern is. And then we need 5 white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a really big weird bead there. 5 light blue. My bugle bead. And 3 dark blue. Like so. And then I like to try and keep these out of my way. Pull it through. Skip those 3 dark blue ones on the bottom. Pull it through. I can sometimes get it all in one go, and sometimes not so much. Nope, not going to be able to do it. So let's do it. There we go. And then I like to kind of hold my thread with my hand. And the earring will come to it, which is kind of cool. And then what we do is make sure our bottom's all looking uniform and pretty. There it is, looking good. And then we're going to come back up through the bead we came out of, which was this guy here. Here we go. And now we need to jump up, skip a bead, and go through the next. So I'm going to go up that neighboring blue seed bead on top. Right there. I hold my fringe back so I don't get wrapped up in it, like so. And then go over to the white one. There, pull through, then jump down through that one on the edge, just like that. It's a great way to kind of easily jump over. There we go. Same pattern here. And you can do whatever pattern of fringe that you want. This is just one that I came up with, so I thought it was pretty and liked it. Depends, you can make it longer, you can make it shorter, whatever you like. That is your decision. Let's see a little bit dark blue, white, light blue, white, and a dark blue. 5 white, 3 light blue, I'm sorry, 5 light blue, a bugle, and 3 dark blue. Okay, I gotta move these beads here. Here, kind of get those out of the way. Give me a little more working space there. Okay, I'll bring these on down. Whoops, try not to get tangled in my other fringe there. Skip those last 3 and go on through. And I can't always get them all in one shot, but it is what it is. I mean, some fringe I've done, you have to have a really long needle to be able to get it all in one shot, so. Even out our bottom, there it goes. There we go. Pull it on through the seed bead we came out of, like so. Our fringe is coming together real nice. Looking good. It's looking pretty. Okay, now we're going to do the same as we did on the others to come through up to that last bead. So we're going to go up into that dark blue bead right next to the one we came out of. Let me move my fringe aside here. Up through that one there. Pull it through. Bring it over to the little white guy over here, that little white one on the top row by the bugle bead. That one right there. Pull that through and then come down through that first dark blue seed bead. Right there. You have to have that downward motion with that, or you're not going to be able to, your fringe isn't going to hang, it's not going to work. So you have to have that downward motion. We're going to do the same fringe. These are really fun earrings to make, though. I like to make these. Love to add the fringe. It adds so much to it. It just makes it look so pretty. Let's get those last three. And try and get it all in one shot. Very unlikely. Worth a try. Oh, I was so close. Almost. All but three. Okay, and pull it through. Like so. Make sure it's tight, and then come back up that one bead. Just like that. And there we have our first side of our fringe. Beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. Okay, now we have to work our way over to, it doesn't matter if you want to go from the bottom or the top. It's entirely up to you. I probably will just work my way back down to the bottom. And what I'm going to do is just try and get through at least one of these. This is why you have to have such thin thread to do these earrings, because there's a lot of jumping around, and you always want to double check your fringe, make sure it's hanging right and, you know, laying right the way you want it. I'm just gonna try to zip over. So we're gonna need to be coming down out of this bead right here. So we want to get our thread over there. So we need to just start weaving in and out and working our way over. I think I just got that underneath the fringe. I did. Here. I like to hold my fringe back when I do this, or I get all sorts of tangled up in them. Just kind of, whoops, I did the wrong jump there. I think I jumped too far. I did. I'm going to get that back out of there. Hang on one second. Okay. I made a far jump with that, is what it was. It's hard to do without getting your thread all wrapped up in your fringe. Almost there. It only takes a minute to get over there. Okay, like so. Alrighty, now we're back over where we need to be again. And we'll add another layer of fringe, and I'm just going to keep working on this. Let you guys work on it now that you know how to get across and how to do the fringe. Just do it the same way you did the other side, where you're jumping every other bead. That's the important part. I'll be right back and we will finish it off. Alright, so I got all my fringe on there. This is my last one here, so I'm going to come back up through that same bead that our last fringe is coming through. And that'll bring that up there. And now we just need to tie off here. So I'm not going to go up to the top. I'm going to stay here down at the bottom because I already have a lot of thread up at the top. So I'm going to just kind of work my way through some beads, put a knot here and there, just make it nice and secure. And that way we know our fringe isn't going to fall off on us. Oh, I got my leg under, my fringe leg under there. That's the hard part about this last part, is the fringe likes to go into the thread all the time. There we go. Oh, I fell off my needle too. Dang it, okay. There we go. There we go. And give it a snip, just like that. So all we got to do from here is put our binding on. So pretty, oh my goodness. Like I said, you can do any colors that you like. You can do your favorite colors or something to match an outfit. All right, now you get your finding in your little jewelry pliers. Find your little gap on there and just open it up. I like to figure out which side I think is the prettiest. That side looks pretty good to me. And just slip it on there like so. And then you just close it back up. Sometimes this can be a little tricky. Maybe. Almost have it. There we go. You want to make sure that's centered in between those 3 beads, 3 on each side. I like to give it a little pinch so that gap is closed nice. And there we have it. That is our earring. And you know, you can make 2 of them, so you can go back and start the video over, or if you know how to do it from that point, then you can just go ahead and make yourself another one, and the pattern obviously is the same. But there we go. I'm so glad you guys decided to come by and check out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can make yourself some pretty earrings. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe and leave any comments or questions that you may have. You guys have a good one. Take care.